to now community radio station for progressive information and enhanced quality music. Since 1973, WRFG has provided a voice to those who have been traditionally denied open access to the broadcast media through the involvement of a broad base of community elements to guarantee that access. In the utilization of the station's facilities and in its programs, the following communities will receive first priority: those who continue to be denied free and open access to the broadcast media, those who suffer oppression or exploitation based upon class, race, sex, age, creed, sexual orientation, disability, or immigrant status. Help us celebrate our milestone 50th year on the air by making a contribution now at wrfg.org.
Funding for this program is made possible by listeners like you and the following sponsors. From July 12th to the 14th, Mainline Magazine presents Mainline Music Fest in conjunction with the Summer of Resistance. The first performance on July 12th at Factors in Little Five Points features Ivy Soul, Often, Ashe, and DJ Dante. Doors at 8:30.
Kofi, can you hear?
This is WRFG Atlanta 89.3 FM, your station for progressive information and handpicked quality music. We greet you today on this Thursday, this Global Drumbeat Thursday, this Ancestral Rock, to say that we're grateful to be here. We're grateful for the opportunity to be together. We're grateful for the opportunity to continue to galvanize the support for this radio station, to do what Dr. Fukia said to do, Simba Simbi, to hold up that which holds us up, to hold up that which holds us up. So this is special programming, as you know. We're here 4 times a year with this special programming because as the temperature rises, literally and figuratively, as the infrastructure of the old world crumbles, we know that there are some things that are consistent. And one of the things that's been consistent for 51 years now is WRFG Radio, representing the voice of the people. The same voice that's loud and clear right now over in Kenya, in Haiti, in Palestine, in the streets of many urban areas in this Turtle Island. Same voice. Sauti ya watu ni sauti ya Mungu. So we're here today. Like Barry said, it's not even just that we're not saying goodbye. We're digging into our pockets, we're digging our heels deeper, strong foundation to make sure that that which means the most to us. In this context, we're talking about public education. We're talking about the voice of the people. We're making sure that this is supported and sustained in all the beautiful ways. So please tune into yourself and let off something. Give us a phone call here at 404-523-8989. We got Sister Danny in the building today, ready to take your phone call, take your pledge. You also have other options, of course. The Cash App is $WRFG893. $WRFG893. Of course, our secure website, WRFG.org. Many ways to get to the fullness, which is holding up that which holds you up. I'll pull it Barry Salmon because it's a big tune for the moment.
of saying goodbye. Everything inside me says it's alright. So
Cole, can you hear? Can you hear, Cole?
You've been with me right through the road, and you never said I ain't good. So I'm there. No, I'm there. No, I'm there. Yeah, I'd like to repay you. Damage done. I know I won't be able to repay it all, 'cause I lost count. And with all the time you've been hurting, you're still so fine. And it's blowing my mind. I know I should back and walk away and leave you nothing to remind. But I can't.
Can you hear?
No, I can't.
Okay. So we good. Thumbs up.
Just wish I was man enough to come out and say it to me. You know? I can't repay you. Daddy just love.
Yo, can you hear me? You can't hear me? You can hear me?
Nothing to deny, but I can't. Oh, I no, I can't. Every time I think of saying goodbye, everything inside me says it's a lie. So I can't. No, I can't. No,
Should I call in?
Cause you've been with me right through the road.
Can you hear?
And you never said I can't love.
Mic check, mic check,
So
mic
I
check.
can't. No, I can't. No, I can't.
The man called Barris Hammond. And you know, this is the global drum beat. And we're true to that. We're true to that word sound. We're true to that reality. Greetings to those of y'all joining us on the internet, on the World Wide Web at wrfg.org, and those of y'all joining us on Facebook, Instagram, on our live feed as well. We're going to go global. We're going to go global. We stay global, you know. We're touching over to the Gold Coast. I would say the Ashanti Coast, but that would be kind of like promoting tribalism, because the Ashanti people is only one people coming from that great nation state, one of the ancient nation states. Just to demonstrate to you why this radio station is so important. We can show you better than we can tell you. Got my brother on the phone line with us, Bingi Shan, Executive Director of Habesha Incorporated. We don't have too much time with him, so as I introduce him, I'm going to let you know that it's been over 20 years now that he's been, and Habesha has been a contributor to our radio show, a radio station, not this radio show particularly. Started off on the Healers on Friday nights, along with Ross Noel and Baba and Jumbe and Dedan, Kimati, Emmanuel Faces, our brother JB, and a lot of others. We had the Healers Garden Club. And we mentioned this as a matter of historical reference because, you know, a lot of the trees and the fruit that all over the world, it's not just in Atlanta, I'm talking about Atlanta, but all over the world, the reality is many of the fruit that we eat in trees, you know, the trees that we eat in fruit from, we don't necessarily know who planted them. You see, and this is what it's always important to always have our historical memory. Not for the sake of the ego, you know. Let me be clear. For the sake of the eco, for the sake of the nurturing of that which is. As we said, Simba Simbi, hold up that which holds you up. If you don't know the root, how could you know the fruit? So I want to welcome our brother to the studio, to the airways of WRFG. Bingishan, are you with us?
Yes, I. Ras Kofi. Can you hear I?
I see him talking, but he's not.
You can hear me?
Let me see what that's going on there. So, Bingishan, can you hear me?
I can hear
You
the
hear
I.
me,
Yes,
but I
I.
can't hear you.
Hold on, I'm calling in.
Yeah, we're going to do this a different way then. While we get our brother hooked up on the phone line, just want to remind you that the Organic Fest is coming forward. The Organic Fest is coming forward, live and direct on Saturday. Yeah. I got you. Just heard an echo from you. But our brother Bingi Shan is with us. Congo, definitely loud and clear. Greetings from Atlanta. That's how the thing said. Yeah, man. All right. True. Sure. I say we there, man. You know, the mission is a must, and we're grateful for the vision of those who started the station from, like they say, small things and always big things, you know. And we've been able to witness personally even some of those major changes. I remember when we went to 100,000 watts and all that, that was a big thing, you know. And all the different aspects of culture, global culture, because as our brother Shaka Zulu said, you know, in the family, Atlanta influences everything. That's real, you know, and many of them brothers started right here at WRFG, doing what they do. Sisters and brothers, our sister Cha Cha, Little John, Cersei, all of them, you know, right here, you know what I mean? So, and that's just in terms of the pop culture. But what we want to talk about today, because as they know, my work is bringing agriculture into the pop culture. We want to talk about the first culture in these few moments we have with the eye in terms of agriculture and how that has played in and continues to play into the trajectory of the world affairs with geopolitics, you know what I mean, even fashion, and definitely naturally, all because it first starts at the belly. This is a common language that we speak, the language of, you know, tilling the soil and reaping the benefits. You know, we're hearing now about AI and all these kind of nefarious things that them and those have in store in terms of how they can control food supply and all these things. But regardless of that, That's not nothing new under the sun. There's nothing new under the sun at all, and that's definitely nothing new. The attempt to control the food supply. Henry Kissinger, the old murderer, he now, gone to the great beyond, they say, said one time that who controls the food controls the population. This is just the reality. So talk about this in the Habesha context in terms of how Habesha has fit into this protracted journey, this tug of war, this journey towards sovereignty in terms of African people and all the people of the world. Sure. Sister Courage. Yes, sir. Give thanks. Give thanks. Mm-hmm. 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 And so Habesha has continued that getting as many of our people connected to the land. We have a healing journey that we're going through with African people worldwide, really because of the Mahama and transatlantic trafficking and Arab trafficking that happened. We now, many of us, particularly in the Western Hemisphere and in America, we have a verse connection to the land and to nature and to agriculture. So one of our goals as an organization has been to heal from that. And we call that reparative agriculture. So that's really what Habesha has been about, is to make sure we repair the land, repair the soil, repair ourselves, and repair the world in that same breath. So we give thanks that, the Organic Fest is one way that we connect with the people to be able to show them how to begin that process, inspire others, reconnect those who haven't been, and to be able to let Mama Earth know that we appreciate of her. Sure. You know what I mean? And that she is valued, even though you will see across the world she's being tormented, traumatized, pillaged. We want to let her know that we still love her and that we're going to show that through connecting with her and making sure we connect with each other. So sure, you're right, because love is an action verb, But I don't want you to skip over what you just said there. You just bust a new slang, That's what we at WRFG. One of the legacies of WRFG is breaking new artists for decades. Right. I just named some of them brothers and sisters who been on this radio show, or this radio station, that went on to exercise international influence, global influence, just like the global drumbeat, the name of this program, Now, and new slang too. So you just said reparative agriculture. And I've heard it before, but I want you to just elaborate on that a little bit, because we hear about regenerative agriculture and so many things, like I say it openly and absolutely unapologetically, facetiously, like nowadays you got this thing about grounding and earthing, which is what we've been doing. I was doing since a child, walking around with no shoes on my feet, barefoot, and we used to get ridiculed for it. But now this is a big trend, and which is good. It's a good trend. So we ain't fighting it. But reparative agriculture, why is that instead of what the regenerative and everything else that is nowadays a catchphrase?
Well, because the reality is that people of African ancestry, we have a unique, again, relationship with agriculture and the land because of transatlantic and Arab trafficking, particularly the transatlantic trafficking. We were brought here as commodity, we were stolen, we were kidnapped, and we were brought here against our will, brought to America against our will, and forced to use our knowledge of agriculture in a way that was detrimental to us. And what I mean by that, we were forced, from as the old people say, from can't see to can't see. Can't see in the morning to can't see in the evening to work and benefit the empire that is the United States of America. So even, as we were, legislatively freed, if you will, many times over the generations, we've lost that connection with the land because we associated with trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And so now there's been a resurgence of many, particularly younger generations, saying, you know what? No, we're not going to run from the land because we know the land is really our past, our present, and our future.
True.
And so what we wanted to do is quantify how we approach agriculture in this work that's unique in a lot of ways because the history that we have is unique to us as a people, and we have to be able to codify. And as my brethren, Judge Kwasi always say, we have to tell our own story. So urban agriculture. 20 years ago, when we were talking urban agriculture on the radio, it was mostly people of African descent, black people in urban areas.
Mm-hmm.
That has gotten co-opted over the years. Organic agriculture. We know our ancestors were the first organic, the first sustainable. So a lot of the terms over the years have gotten co-opted and pushed African people out of the picture when we were at the forefront. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to connect to our specific experience with agriculture and how we're using this as a healing force for us right now and a force of empowerment. And we see that in action. So it's not just a theoretical something. Reparative agriculture is actually an action item. Like you said, love is an action verb. We have examples, and what we've outlined is 5 pillars that we see that are part of reparative agriculture. They include education, legalization, compensation, land reclamation, and repatriation. So those are the 5 pillars, and it's a lot under that. We'll have a whole reasoning around that, but reparative agriculture is really what we want to get African people who are doing this work to heal, connecting with the soil. We want to begin to use that verbiage in our everyday language around our connection to the land.
Ashe. This is Congo Shan, Bingi Shan, Kashan Myers, Executive Director of Habesha Incorporated. Like our Baba Dick Gregory told us one time on this same radio station, a wish is abomination unto the Most High. So I ain't going to say I wish we had more time with you. I'm going to say I'm going to affirm that we're going to continue this link in a public way, where we can continue to feed our people like we've been doing, you know what I mean? So before we let the eye go, let's talk about Organic Fest more specifically and just talk about what's happening this year. By the way, y'all, you're tuned to WRFG Atlanta. This is the Ancestral Rock. We're in the midst of our summer pledge drive, our summer fun drive. Our family on the phone line already made his commitment. As soon as he hang up from this interview, he's going to make his pledge.
89.3. That's how much I'm pledging. So I ask anybody to match that. Any of those listening, match that 89.3, $89.30. I'm making my pledge
right now. You know what I'm saying? And the way that you can do it, there's many different ways. You can tune in to our secure website, wrfg.org. You can tune in to us right here in the studio. There's somebody calling you to match your pledge right now. You can tune into the studio. Danny will take your call. Should be happy to take your call and take down your pledge. You can also tune in to Cash App, $ WRFG 893. Many different ways. We don't want to string no cats. Many different ways to plant a seed. How about that? Because that's what you're doing. You're planting a seed of sustainability, of more community. Bingi Shan, I don't know what y'all seeing from Ghana, but from my purview, the world as we know it is crumbling. The infrastructure is just coming to, so that talking about the day the dollar died, that ain't too far around the corner. In some places, it's already there, I was just reflecting on the youth in Kenya right now. I was speaking to my sister in Kenya before we came on, and the youth them is saying, boy, look, we don't want no political parties. present. We don't want no religious leaders present. We will speak for ourselves. We will speak for ourselves in this moment. You know what I'm saying? And what they're saying, because what they're dealing with, why they got to speak for themselves? They're dealing with politicians who corrupt. They're dealing with heads of state, so-called heads of state, who are passing bills to tax them children who hardly have any resources to their own. Even on their financial aid, they're getting taxed. But these heads of state traveling globally on taxpayers' dime with a big posse.
Of course.
So this is happening all over the world. So in that context, we have the Organic Fest taking place as a reflection of a global movement towards sovereignty. So talk to us about the Organic Fest. And this is the 21st.
This is the 20th.
The 20th.
This is the 20th. There was one year during COVID we didn't have Organic Fest, so this is technically the 20th. But this is, the first one was in 2003, and so I got to big up the eye because, it's really through the Healers Garden Club that the Organic Fest even came into fruition. For those who know back in the day, it was from a request from the WRFG listeners to be in person. And not just on the radio. So big up the eye, Roscoe, for helping to birth the Organic Fest and being a part of its success then. And now, I tell people all the time now, Organic Fest and these type of festivals, especially like vegan festivals, I'm seeing on social media, there's so many, every city, every place got vegan festivals, and I'm like, give thanks that we were in those early stages to help usher in, not just vegan and plant-based, but also just growing your own food, connecting with the land, and that's really what Organic Fest is about.
Make it sexy again.
It's using a space so where we can come together and using a garden and a growing space as the centerpiece of food, of fellowship, of music, of family. All of these things used with the garden as the center. So, we are celebrating our 20th year of Organic Fest, which will be taking place this Saturday, June 29th, from 12 to 8 p.m., at the Hoppershaw Gardens Complex that sits inside of Rosa Burney Park on 477 Windsor Street in Southwest Atlanta, the Dunbar Neighborhood Center, if anyone knows it. And so we just inviting the family to come out to connect. We'll have workshops. We'll have musical selections. Roscoe the farmer going to be in the place. So those who've been hearing about him on the radio and hearing his voice, you will get a chance to see him in the flesh, among many others that'll be there to share. It's always a family reunion, and it's a way. You know how many people have told me from coming to the Organic Fest, they started a garden in their backyard, or they planted something in a pot. You know what I mean? And that, honestly, to me, is the greatest joy. Hear people say they came to Organic Fest and were inspired to grow food and connect with the earth because they saw the beauty and the joy that people were shining. So, I personally won't be there. I'm in Ghana, but I'll be, vicariously looking through videos, social media posts of the joy, the family reunion, and everyone that's there. So I'm inviting the family anywhere in the Metro Atlanta area this Saturday to come out to Organic Fest and enjoy with us.
Give thanks. That's Bingy Kashan Myers, Habesha Incorporated, helping Africa by establishing schools at home and abroad. I remember when Habesha dropped that promo, as we let the eye go, Bingy. That promo where you first showed the world, you got a few bars. You know what I mean? And I remember last year it was epic when that promo, that song was performed again at the climax of the festival. Beautiful thing, big up our brother Jerome and Daydon and JB, all them early brethren, Malcolm, Baba Jumbe, all them early brethren that was there. Of course, our sister Nyla, Siobhan, all the ones that's coming through.
All the family.
Yeah, man, coming through from that time to this time. So much love to Habesha crew. Thank you for serving our people with honor and integrity. And we're looking forward to this year. Yeah, man, we're there, man.
For the love, man. More blessings to the family. Last thing I'll say, support WRFG, make a pledge. It's real money that's needed, not just the wishes and the prayers. WRFG needs resources. So give thanks. Much love. Everyone enjoy Organic Fest. And, I'll see you on the other side. We can read more about reparative ag and some of the other work. So give thanks and love to the family.
More love, more love. That's our brother Bingi Kashan Myers, touching base from Ghana, West Africa. And the mission continues, the mission is a must. We got another sister coming up right now who is doing them same powerful works for many years right here in the city of Atlanta. And we're just going to tune in with her in a minute. But just check this out in the meantime, in between time. I don't know, say one of the things that we love to do is play hardcore music for our people. Hardcore music for the people then. 89.3.
We here to tell you that that's a fact, baby. That ain't a Pittsburgh. Like this, well, the fine choke line and put the needle to the grind. Representing one kind, saying I for the grind. With this what I carry on, there's a further purpose. From how we do slam a few, then you wanna purchase a dialogue of funk, you love to pop it in your trunk. I win more discipline than a Shaolin monk. Big rock and CEO, well set to sparking. The powerful target to destroy the black market. But when you say black, listen, I don't know you lose me. I get another beggar, can't afford to be choosy. I come to the maximum, artist on the major label. Any duplication of this one is fatal. 125, I gotta hit your line, bitch. With my tape, any race or shit. Cause if they got mine, they got yours too. But together, here's what we gotta do. Oh, yeah. You know,
You gotta straighten it out, y'all. To the people of the world.
The legacy I pass on, currency for high rates. Every time we sample over pastime breaks, stick it in the SB 1200 to make a loop. Lovely way to troop in the Lexus group. Just a little bit set to make a whole lot happen. The musical inside my rapping, written by the CL, produced by the PR, and any credit that you heard thus far. A start from scratch cause the bassline's critical. Better than the original who first made it. Now you wanna sue me, but fans never boo me. Believe I know the times we've been broke too, G. Speaking of the simple clear, see you get the hell out of here like a bootleg, you're over for the year. You only get the credit when the credit is due. So listen, what I shout out is true. You got to tell them to. You got to tell them to. That's right. Come on. That's right. Like the strands of limbs while I'm picking that set. Here they go to the head and got the locks on the dread. I and I lit to verify, going to multiply. A theory made me thought a conspiracy. Here to let you know that it applies to all of us. And no exception to the rule and that's a plus. Cause who job bless, let no one curse. Straighten out what I be about, breaking the bumps that pull out. And let the management work for me. Because I don't need the unnecessary hostility. A proper marketing plan so we can gobble up the dough, straighten it out so everybody knows the kids are official with the purpose of a smooth surface.
We're having issues with the connection. We can't hear.
And very long overdue. Deep rock, this one's for the crew.
89.3 FM WRFG Atlanta. Summer fun drive. And what happens if just the music stop and everything go flop? What happens? Misery and coulda, shoulda, woulda. That's what happened. One of our elders in the community, granddad, used to say, the grandfather of Karen and Mason, coulda killed bird, can't make soup. Coulda killed bird, can't make soup. So, we're not about doomsday and the shock value and all them things there. We're just keeping it all the way real. The reason that you can hear this type of music and these vibes on prime time radio, you can hear us right now in Macon. There are people listening. I see you all over the world on the web right now. The reason you can do that is because we are listener supported. Listener supported radio, 89.3 on the FM dial. Do remember that we're here until the 4 o'clock hour. Want to big up our brother, Professor Griff and Minister Server, Paradise Gray, the architect. And want to give thanks for their contribution to our world through the higher infinite power healing our people. Call in right now at WRFG 89.3 FM, 404-523-8989. Join the crowd. Join the crowd. Join the cool kids that's supporting that which supports us. It's just that simple. We have to rise up and stand up on our own 2 feet. And as our brother Kashan said, it's not just a symbolic thing and all these kind of things. Very practical. It's a practical reality. Marcus Garvey teaches us this. See? So I think I got Queen Yen on the phone line with us. And I'm going to bring her on in a minute. In the meantime, listen to music.
I love a girl I see. You wanna wings it. Come in. Come in. I love a girl I see. You wanna wings it. Come in. You have your tongue for your. Come in. Baby, I'm not thinking carnally. Judge I not by scrutiny. Your heart and soul. I want in my control. I'm not just a lovey dove. I don't just wanna fall in love. I stand in love.
Mr. Hot Stepper, long before the commercial thing, and you know, and he is one who stayed true to the game. Cause when the unnatural pressure start try to reach their ass, he said, "No, man, I'm stepping back. I've had enough." Aini Kamosi on the case, Radio Free Georgia style. Musical disc called Wings with Me. Yes, it's 37 minutes past the hour. We got a lot in store for you. This, of course, is special programming. It's Summer Fun Drive. The heat is on. The heat is on. Those of y'all who living in the South right now and many other places in the world, I ain't got to tell you about the heat. You feel it. You experience it for yourself in living color. Seeing, like I said earlier, I spoke to family today over in Kenya, and the winter is coming in over there. It's cold at night. Seeing, imagine that. There's somewhere in the world right now, even on the continent of Africa, it's cold right now. We're talking about seasons and cycles and circles, which are naturally occurring. So in the midst of this season, one of the things that we see is always a wise thing to do is take advantage of the medicine of the season. This is a time where on the farm we gather in a lot of raw material, a lot of the herbs that are growing bountifully right now, because they might not be growing bountifully in 6 months when it gets cold, you know. So we're gathering them now and learning how to can and pickle and preserve them, and we're gathering them and making hydrosols and tinctures that will sustain us. And this is not nothing new to us. Fannie Lou Hamer, the great ancestor who was such a powerful force during the 60s human rights movement, some call the civil rights movement, Black Power movement as well. She was, you know, definitely had her feet on the land and the sea as it relates to that. You know, part of her legacy was how she helped those co-ops, those farmers and members of the co-ops to feed themselves through those harsh winters, you know. So it's nothing new under the sun. In the meantime, in between time, I want to welcome to the airwaves a sister who is no stranger. Matter of fact, she stood in for us last strong in her capacity as an air shifter here. You can check out her show, The Bridge, talk radio for students and teachers and parents and those who love them. In a few hours after we get off the air. But, you know, she wears many crowns in the community. Just had a birthday, too. So I want to say belated happy birthday to our sister, Queen Yen, on the radio. Queen Yen, are you with us?
I am. Thank you, brother.
What's happening?
All is well. Thank you so much for the birthday wishes.
How does it feel to be 25?
It feels wonderful to be 42 and look 24.
I say. She got lyrics too, as you can see. Everybody, all our people got bars, you know. Don't come to them no sideway talk, because they're going to straighten you out one time, like Pete Rock them say. But big up
Yeah, we're
yourself.
not 25. We're definitely 42. We done been here a little while. We done gained some strength and wisdom. So we give thanks.
And looking 25 years, so we love that too. Same way, fountain of youth. And I want my thesis. I don't want to say an assumption. My thesis is that a lot of that got to do with your lifestyle. And I know you came to share some good news about garden vibes in particular. So talk to us about what's happening and tell me if my thesis is correct or incorrect.
No, it's absolutely correct. I mean, when I came across Queen of Fool's work in, more than 10 years ago, because my son was 8 and he's now 19. So more than 10 years ago, it was then that I started to age backwards. Once I started to incorporate a lot of her fasting and cleanses and her liberty plan and getting some ideas from her. And then I began to run into, you know how it is when you start to, when everything starts to unfold that you've been praying for. I started to run into all types of people and information that helped me to be able to live a lifestyle that is full of life.
That's true.
So I came off the diets and got on the liberty plan and began to live more. And so I'm really grateful. So it's definitely lifestyle for sure. Eating living foods, doing things that amplifies my life force energy, being around people that amplify my life force energy. Those are the types of things that help the light shine. So that's what we do on a daily basis, and I give thanks for it.
Give thanks. We're speaking to Queen Yin, founder of OUN Ministries. Underneath, we got our sister Janine talking about the avocado. It's a lifestyle vibes, it's a good feeling to see our people embracing ourselves. It's really that simple, y'all. So Queen Yin, I know you bring good tidings from the garden. What you got? What good news you got for us this afternoon?
Well, I want to first just give big up to you, one of my greatest supporters in the time that I was working to secure funding to purchase the garden. You were one of my largest donors, as well as 2 or 3 other people who I won't start shouting names because I don't want to forget any, but they know who they are. So I really give thanks for the community that supported in that process. First, I want to shout out for those who may not know that the garden that used to be True Living Well's headquarters on Washington Road is now OUN Botanical Garden. I was able to close on the property in May, so it is now under ownership of OUN LLC or OUN Ministry. So I'm very grateful for that, celebrating that.
Big news.
Yeah, celebrating that. So giving thanks because the community really did come behind me and help me out through that process. It was, not just the community, but the whole city of East Point. Want to shout out the Economic Development Department, Erin over there in that department, because she made some calls and helped me to be able to link with some important people to help me to be able to keep it from being sold in 22. And then I also want to shout out USDA FSA department because they were the ones who helped me to be able to secure the funding to purchase it in May. So giving thanks that it's purchased. And so for those who don't know, it is OUN Botanical Gardens, OYUN. OUNbotanical.com is the website, OYUNbotanical.com. And, just keeping up the mission of Mama Melinda, who just, from what I know and understand about her vision for that property when she gifted it to Truly Living Well to be used as a nonprofit organization, where she wanted to keep green space on the south side. And she wanted that space to continue to grow food. But not only that, but I then began to hear from other people that she wanted there to be wellness events and classes and children in the space, adults in the space, and holistic wellness activities and services. And so, lo and behold, a lot of the things that is going on, if not all of them, is right in line with, her vision. And I never met her. I never spoke to her or anything. So just giving thanks for divine order. At OUN, we have natural, organic, chemical-free produce being produced. We also have holistic wellness events, like the event that we just had this past Sunday, giving thanks for all who came out to that, our summer solstice event, where we had a garden tour. We had yoga. We had a sound bath. We had dope vendors, food, drinks, everything. It was just nice all day. So we have events like that. We have wellness classes, gardening classes, sound baths, and meditations, yoga during the week. We have Qigong coming soon. We also have the My Pharmacy, who I'll be partnering with soon, who's going to be bringing in a lot of holistic wellness products and services and assessments as well. Some biofeedback assessments are going to be happening there, so you can make sure you're on top of your wellness. No excuses. You don't want to go to the doctor, no worries. We have people in our community who can give you those assessments to help you to know where you are and to help build that legacy plan to help you to thrive in this life. So, yes, that is OU. It's holistic in a sense of it approaches spiritual, emotional, and physical wealth. I was gonna say wealth, but wellness is wealth, right? Wellness.
Absolutely.
Spiritual, emotional, and physical wellness. We have meditation every Sunday. You know, I do my Sunday message and meditation on Sundays. I also have my metaphysical classes that happen on Wednesdays where we discuss various topics in metaphysical studies. I do my new moon and full moon meditations around the new moon and full moon. And so it's so much that goes on that approaches the whole being at OU Botanical. I'm grateful for OU Botanical being the headquarters of OU Ministries and how it is expanding. And I always give thanks for your support, of course, because you've been one of those supporters from the beginning.
Give thanks. We're tuning in with Queen Yen. Queen Yen, I want to ask you just to hold a minute. We're going to play some very important station announcements and be right forward with some more good news, because I know that, again, you know, it's better to give than to receive, and we love when our family like yourself come with the gifts, you know, and so good news is a great gift. Stay tuned to yourself, family. You're tuned into the Ancestral Rock on your station for progressive information and handpicked quality music.
There is a global reconnection with Mother Nature for very practical as well as emotional and spiritual reasons. And this spirit, On the Farm, in association with Level Up Academy, presents a series of classes which are in part practical skills and life-changing mindsets to the local community. The summer cohort begins in late June with classes on garden planting, canning and preserving, tincture and medicine making, and a 3-day intensive workshop on earth bag structure building. For more information, including mailing list options, the website is onthefarm.com, ondafarm.com, and Level Up Academy ATL on Instagram. This has been a public service announcement from your listener-sponsored and supported community radio station, WRFG 89.3, WRFG.org. Greetings to one and all. On Saturday, June 29th, from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m., Habasha Inc. will be hosting their 20th annual Organic Fest. Guests will enjoy activities for all ages, live performances, organic food vendors, a marketplace, speakers, workshops, and demonstrations. The event will take place at the stunning Habasha Garden Complex located at Rosa L. Burney Park. That's 477 Windsor Street, Southwest, Atlanta, Georgia, 30312. Further information is available at habashainc.org. That's HABESHAINC.org. This has been another public service announcement brought to you by your listener-supported and sponsored community radio station for progressive information and handpicked quality music, WRFG 89.3 FM.
Yes, indeed, it's a good thing to give thanks and praises. True works and true word and true sound and true power. It's gathering time, you know, it's festival time, festival season.
I can't conceal the nucleus of all begins inside time.
What y'all know about this right here?
And what we see as insignificant provides the pure everything. But who am I to doubt or question the inevitable peace? For these are but a few discoveries we find inside the secret life of man.
Stevie the Wonder from 1979 soundtrack. Stevie Wonder's journey through the secret life of plants. One of the most important artists of our time. I get goosebumps even just thinking about him and his contribution in terms of the expression of humanity and its great potential, you know. Music is a healing force. If you've never seen the video, it's a good thing, man. It's a sweet thing. Available on YouTube. Stevie Wonder, The Secret Life of Plants from 1979. On the phone line, we got Queen Yen, who was tapping into the secret life of plants with programming, as she's been sharing with us about Oyun Botanical Gardens as the newest iteration of her unfolding work as the head of Oyun Ministries. So Queen Yen, I know that there's some programming coming up, you know, that can most likely help us even navigate through this heat, because the thing about it is, you know, in the next hour, just for full disclosure, family, we'll be featuring a documentary. It's a little bit of a debate. And I feel silly even repeating that word, but that's just what it's been billed as, a debate about climate change, if climate change is real, you know. And one of the things that we realize is that we could talk about all the mess that's happening, and we should be aware of what's happening. Or there's some people who create solutions. There's some people who observe, some people who participate, some people who just talk, you know. But those who are creating solutions so that our children's children don't have to deal with the same things we deal with. Those are the people, those are the living ones, as we know it. Those are the ones that have always been the Ayahites, as Rastafari say, the ones who in the Islamic tradition they're called a Khalifa. Anywhere you go around the world, there's different names for those people who have recognized their authority as human beings in this world. Their authority is the word I use. Their ability, their potential, and their authority, meaning the fact that they know that they have some say in the matter. You know what I mean? So give thanks and special shout out to all of you. On the phone line, we got Queen Yen, who is one of them people there. And Queen Yen, I want to ask you in the few minutes we have remaining, just to share a little bit more about the programming that's coming up at Oyun Botanical Gardens.
Yeah, so right now we have, well, what I'm so excited about is I'm able to really continue to exercise my muscle as an educator in this. For those who may know me, my first career was in education, and so I've always had love for the children, and I really do feel like when we plant seeds in them, then we can guarantee, you know, our lives good, you know, as they thrive, because they'll be the ones that's taking care of us, you know. And so one of the things that I knew I wanted to have when I found out that garden will be headquartered is programming for children. And so we have our Garden Gurus Summer Day Camp sessions coming up. The Garden Gurus Summer Day Camp sessions with our sister Habiba. She's going to be leading these sessions throughout the month of July. And, you know, I know my family had farmers in my family. However, I didn't grow up growing You know, I didn't grow up in the land. You know, I was barefoot most of my childhood, but I didn't grow up growing anything. You know, and so I think I'm so grateful because the silver lining right now with everything that's happening is that more and more people are getting back to growing their own food and at least getting their children involved. Schools are now starting to incorporate garden education, so I'm really grateful for that. So we're going to definitely be having our sessions where children can be involved at the garden. Some of the things we'll be exploring in those summer session camps is uncovering soil secrets, the life of plants, nourishing, how to nourish the plants, how to nourish fruit, herbs, and vegetable plants, guardianship, and also how to preserve as well. So the children will actually be doing food preservation projects during those as well. And so I just wanted to let the community know that that's what's happening, that the children ages 8 to 12 are welcome to participate in these sessions. Again, they are throughout the month of July, on Mondays and Fridays throughout that month. And on the last one, the 26th, we're actually doing a farm-to-table lunch to celebrate the Garden Gurus and give out our awards and different things like that. And so, yeah, just wanted to put that out there. Very excited about that. This will be the first year that is happening under Ocean Botanical Gardens. It's been happening on that land for years. As we know, True Living Well has their camp. So it's been happening on that land for years. So I'm grateful to pick up the baton and continue it happening. And so, again, that's at OU Botanical Gardens during the month of July, Garden Guru Summer Day Session, 53 Washington Road. More information at oubotanical.com on our calendar page.
Give thanks. Garden Guru. So this is rising up anew. And I love how you speak life into them, you know. My mother in the classroom always used to call the knuckleheads scholars. I'm saying the knuckleheads on purpose because we know that that's one aspect, one part of personality. What she always would speak, you know, and Dr. Asa Hilliard, many, you know, master teachers do that. They speak into the youth what they see as their potential instead of where they are in the moment, you know. So we love the fact that the Garden Gurus are getting some love this summer. These future George Washington Carvers and Cecile Fatimas and all of that. You know, these healers that are coming up in our midst. They have somewhere to reflect and to channel that energy and to even see themselves reflected, you know. So again, give that information one more time, website and any other sign up information, please.
OUBotanical.com. That's OYN Botanical, BOTANICAL.com, OUBotanical.com.
Your voice getting real. We heard the OUBotanical.com, so OYUN Botanical.com.
Yes, and you look on the calendar tab, it'll have all of the events, including the summer sessions and the sound bath and any other event that we have coming up. We have some horticulture therapy events coming up as well, hosted by our horticulture therapist, Carol Hunter. She's going to be doing some tea time sessions at the garden. So always something going on. Also on the website, you'll see information about how to volunteer, how to get involved, all that good stuff as well.
That's what's up. Queen Anne, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you.
Yeah, we're going to keep on moving. But I know you already know the power of independent radio. I want to ask you what kind of challenge you're going to put out today to the family out there like yourself, entrepreneurs and business owners and movers and shakers in the community who benefit from the earth, benefit from this type of format, this type of institution, public education, free education on WRFG.
Well, I mean, I challenge you to go to the WRFG Cash App, which is, can you shout that out? Yes. And give while Ross Kofi is on air. I know Ross Kofi has many hosts he's brought on that you wouldn't have heard from if you hadn't brought them on there. I know many people that I value and I've learned from them. I heard them on your radio station first. So I'm just challenging everybody who is tuning in right now to go to the Cash App. No Cash App. I'm doing the Cash App challenge. We're doing the Cash App right now and give what you can give. And I'm also going to give anyone who gives $30 or more I'm gonna give at least one person. I'm gonna say one ticket. We got one ticket. The first person will give $30. That's as a call-in. If they call in to give $30, they can get a free ticket to one of my new sound bath sessions that's coming up.
All right. And that's a whole mystical experience in itself. Mystical not meaning like something outside of reality, very much in tune with reality. Thank you, Queen Yen, for the contribution. The Cash App is $WRFG893. $WRFG893. Queen Yen, big up yourself.
We get thanks.
Yeah, man. And we're here as cheerful receivers. All right, check it out. This is WRFG Atlanta, 89.3 FM.
When me eat them, I wonder when me down. When me tell them say that I'm a vegan, man. When me eat them, I wonder when me eat. When me tell them say me eat no fish and no meat now. When me eat them, I wonder when me down. When me tell them say that I'm a vegan. When me no eat no meat, no fish, no cheese, no egg. Nothing with no foot, no eye, no wing, no head. Nothing with no lip, no ears, no tongue, no leg. Prefer fruit and vegetables instead. Me careful and me choosy about what I'm eating. Me medicine, me food is me medicine. When me tell people that me not eat them, they think. They look at me and scratch them chin and start wondering. When me eat them, I wonder when me eat. When me tell them say me not eat no fish and no meat now. When me eat them, I wonder when me down. When me tell them say that I'm a vegan. When me eat them, I wonder when me eat. When me tell them say me not eat no fish and no meat now. When me eat them, I wonder when me eat. You want to hear what me eat? Yo, I eat callaloo, ackee, sweet potato, yam, banana, and tomato, cabbage, spinach, avocado, chocho, butter, bean, and cocoa, 100-minute plantain, rice and peas and pumpkin, mango, dates and guava, chickpeas and cassava, Brussels sprouts and cauliflower, onion, fennel and cucumber, plum, pear and papaya, aubergine and saya, lime, lentils and quinoa, oatmeal bread and almond flour, watercress and okra, tofu and sweet pepper, couscous and carrot, broccoli and coconut, peaches, apples, apricot, redwood, jackfruit, sour, pistachios, cashews and almonds, walnut, peanut, also pecan, sesame seeds, sunflower, lemon, orange, pineapple and melon, mango, wheat and garlic, kiwi, corn and turnip, pacho and pomegranate, hijiki and rocket berries, cherries and strawberries, beetroot, grapefruit and celeries. You see them is not necessary. We tell them say, when me eat them, I wonder when me eat. When me tell them say me no eat no fish and no meat now. When me eat them,
Original Maccabee on the case. Large up our rebel with a cause.
when me eat them, I wonder
My mind just ran upon the brethren and sisters behind physical bars.
when me tell them say that I'm a vegan.
I want to heal up
Go me strong.
the man Rasta Kuma Umoja
If you want a healthy body, check the real.
of the House of Umoja
Man, we tell you about the right
of Guyana.
See on me Saudi on me.
Mighty soldier. First brought me into the prison to do prison ministry.
Want the fish young like the
And I thought of him as I thought of my brother Iras and those who carried on that mission for years, where we would visit the Atlanta Federal Penitentiary, where Marcus Garvey once was housed. Want to send enough love to the Idri and them holding it strong, letting the time serve them, you know. Rastakuma took me to a place called Forest City, Arkansas. Never forget that. He just transitioned. That's why we're healing him up. We were just talking about him yesterday with my brethren Charles Greenley of Eco Paradigm. Eco Paradigm know a lot about what we eat because them help to strengthen up many farmers around the area to grow the food for the people in. It's all one ecosystem, you know. The Rastakuma took I and I to a place called Forest City, Arkansas. That was my first time entering the prison in the context of prison ministry, Rastafari prison ministry. And he came to visit us with my sister Aymara. A few years later, we went to Edgefield, South Carolina. And after that, I started linking up with my brother Iras, who spearheaded a powerful and still doing those works, you know, here in Atlanta and other places. He is gone, you know, on the Turtle Island. But we're saying much love to those who are letting the time serve them, you know, behind those enemy lines. You know what I'm saying? Strength and power to the item in great abundance, in great proportion, strength unto strength.
Don't give up enough. Keep pushing forward. Straight up. Don't give up. I know we can make it.
Pull up, selector. Ross Batch on the case. Ross Batch and Ross Attitude and the Zioneers.
Keep pushing forward.
Atlanta, you first heard them here. 89.3 FM.
I know we can make it. Don't give up on the opportunity. Come get up and take it. Don't give up. I know we can make it. Don't give up on the opportunity. Come get up and take it. We got to rise and give it the best we can. No loving in a Babylon. All matters, every situation. We want justice, liberty, emancipation. Tired of them foolishness. Giving more to receive the less. The judge make everything blessed. Long and road, give thanks for every step. Fullness of health and strength. Making the most of every breath. No matter sit down like stop and shall build up your courage and your confidence. And don't give up. I know we can make it. Don't give up good opportunity. Come get up and take it. Don't give up. I know we can make it. Don't give up, cause if it's not right, let's fight to change it. How will it happen if you don't try? Sitting criticizing from the sideline. Don't wait till it's too late to open your eyes. There's no limit to the power of the Most High. We're gonna strive for excellence, creativity, IQ, high intelligence. Giving Jah thanks for life. Through the hard time, pain and strife. Mice in the field of rice with unquenchable thirst and appetite. So lift up your consciousness. Rastafari is in the midst. Now retreat, now retire, now quit meditation. Pyraxalis, and don't give up. I know we can make it. Don't give up good opportunity. Come get up and take it. Don't give up. I know we can make it. Don't give up. Cause if it's not right, let's try to change it. Overcoming the obstacles that hold us down. Right here, right now. Thinking for ourselves now, follow the crowd. Progressive example, we try to stay around. Forward will be going. Sun, rain, shine, or snowing. When day turns into night, did you give it all your might? Striving to stay upright, maneuvering and warding off mosquito bite. This life is all we have. No tampering, no meddling, no grab. Now pull we down in a barrel of crab, and I take well in a disababa. Don't give up. I know we can make it. Don't give up good opportunity. Come get up and take it. Don't give up. I know we can make it. Don't give up, cause if it's not right, let's fight to change it. Don't give up. I know we can make it. Don't give up. Don't give up. Don't give up. Yes, you don't give up. 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 Don't give up.
We put around the I'm from the spot that pitch cocktail bombs and hand grenades. We pour cayenne pepper around the perimeter of a building to keep the police dogs at bay. I'm the Panther Party in the Desire Housing Projects in New Orleans. I'm a nigga turning the gun on the National Guard to take a long look. I'm a cook in the kitchen asking the missus to taste the dinner. Take a long sip, cause death ain't always this good. It's eyes popping out they sockets. It's a lifeless body rocking backwards and forwards. It's a boy's stabbed 47 times in front of the church house. It's a man 43 years old stuffing his penis in a 9-year-old girl's mouth. No, death don't always taste good. Just don't sound like something I want to eat often. I hear them say it was like a train came through the room, left mama so depressed she was unable to move until one day, a few months after the hurricane. Husband and child found the Trinity bloody in bed, his wife, son, other daughter dead, and on the end table there was a letter that read, I couldn't stay here, not for 1 minute longer, and it made no sense for me to leave here alone, because who would take care of my babies with their mama gone? I'm telling you, death ain't always good. It'll leave you finning for water and food. It'll riddle up your body in the Audubon ballroom. They'll El Hajj Malik El Shabazz you, crown you king, then dethrone you in a Lorraine hotel. They'll disfigure your body to where folk can't tell if you Emmett Till or not. Tell them, mama, keep that casket open. Let all the world see it ain't just burning in Mississippi. Hell is hot wherever you be. From the rooftop to the cell block. Step on up to the auction block. Bend over. Touch your toes. Show your teeth. Lift her titties. Examine his balls. It damn near sound like a hip-hop song, but it's slavery at its peak. A circus for all the freaks. They'll warn you, caution when you speak. Can't afford the truth to leak, but we'll say blessed are the meek, and all the ones who make peace, and all the ones who are persecuted for the sake of righteousness. For we say theirs is the kingdom. Earth is their inheritance, so no matter how treacherous, they'll try to trap us in them trenches. They'll dig deeper ditches, but all that matters is this. Which side will we pick? Which path will we choose? Either win or lose, because death don't come in vain. Not for us to remain enslaved or our spirits to remain in cages. It comes so we might be courageous to fulfill our obligation to our God and all creation and stand in determination, able to look death in the face and say, we made it, we made it, we made it, we made it.
When day turns into night, did you give it all your might? Striving to stay upright, maneuvering and warding off mosquito bite. This life is all we have. No tampering, no meddling, no grab. Now pull we down in a barrel of crab, and I say, well, in a Addis Ababa. Don't give up, I know we can make it. Don't give up good opportunity, come get up and take it. Don't give up.
Don't give up.
We can make it.
Victory is within the mile.
Cause if it's not right, let's fight.
We're not talking about nothing what we don't know.
Don't give up. I know we can make it.
We're not talking about what we don't know, what we haven't walked through.
Don't give up.
It's the cycles and the seasons, you know.
Don't give up. 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 No way.
Avoid the company of people who talk or gossip too much. Because this tendency, these habits of people who are themselves disturbed in their mind, they can't help it. And they'll come to you to unload, unburden on you. But even if you feel you're helping them by listening, they cannot get rid of this burden. They'll just go to someone else and keep unburdening themselves like this. So don't be so quick to believe what the people say. Like I say, when people speak, don't just believe everything people say, especially about the world. They're not telling you what is truth about the world. They're only showing you what is inside their mind. So you stay in the neutrality of your own natural being. Avoid the company of people who talk or gossip too much. Yeah. Because this tendency, these habits of people who are themselves disturbed in their mind, they can't help it. And they'll come to you to unload, unburden on you. But even if you feel you're helping them by listening, they cannot get rid of this burden. They'll just go to someone else and keep unburdening themselves like this. So don't be so quick to believe what the people say. Like I say, when people speak, don't just believe everything people say, especially about the world. They're not telling you what is truth about the world. They're only showing you what is inside their mind. So you stay in the neutrality of your own natural being. Avoid the company of people who talk or gossip.
Our repetition is the mother of knowledge. Good advice, we have to play it twice. Moji Baba. Yes, indeed. 404-523-8989 is the number. We're getting steady calls and we want them to get even more steady, more bountiful. This is Fun Drive, F-U-N-D and F-U-N. The two don't have to contradict each other. The two don't have to be separated. We can have fun while we're building up ourselves. And we're building up ourselves when we're taking in information which helps us to reflect and know ourselves. Information and inspiration. Even those things don't have to be separate. The only separation, the only lie really is separation. Everything else, that's not how it goes. I recall many years ago hearing from somebody whose name I invoke often, Dr. Fukia. But actually it was through Mama Itiari Toure. Big up yourself, Mama Itiari. And he was talking about conflict resolution within community. He was giving an example of how it is in the Congo. And all of this is to illustrate in one way how everything is connected. And he was saying if two people find themselves or think of themselves important enough to have basically beef, he didn't use the word beef, but conflict with one another. But just think about that for a minute. If two people find themselves or believe themselves to be important enough to have beef with one, I'm not just talking about like no public beef, you know. Even the vibration of contention between two people that they're keeping it up. The point he was making is that even if you keep it silent or you feel you're keeping it silent, it's loud because of the energy, how energy works. It's loud. But if these two people decided they're so important to have beef with one another, they were made to sit in a structure, a building in the middle of the village, in the middle of the village compound. And this structure was not any more than maybe 3 feet high. So they had to sit and they could not leave until they worked it out. Imagine that. Imagine if that was like a law of the land. Imagine if that was something that was reinforced and enforced in this modern world, in our neighborhoods, in our churches, in our mosques, in our temples, and wherever we are. They could not leave until they were able to work it out. And not only that, it was so short. The building is so short that they couldn't be walking around huffing, puffing. I got to get this off my chest, rah, 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 rah. Huffing and puffing and prancing and dancing, you know? Does this sound like something that would be established by an uncivilized people who don't understand the true essence of humanity? That's a rhetorical question. Everything is connected. All is connected. You want to play something as we continue to raise these funds for our station, and we continue to invite you, ask you to call in or to tune in different ways with your support. Something that is, again, as I was saying in the beginning, it's almost silly to me in terms of the word debate. However, that's just my opinion. So I'm not going to just focus and base things on my opinion. That's not what we do. We put it out there and allow for public discourse. But the title is Climate Change Debate. See, so we're going to play a good portion of this. And it's interesting. I'd be interested to hear what you feel about this. Where there's some people to this day that say that climate change, this whole concept of climate change is not real, or it's exaggerated, or it's disingenuous. The climate is always changing. We once had an ice age. I've heard all of this. Not just like secondhand, just people, reasoning as we share, around the place. So we're just going to play a little bit of this. And of course, I was inspired by the fact that this summer in Georgia and other places on the Turtle Island, there's been more hot days than there was in the previous whole year already. We have in August and July weather in June. There's withering crops and dry ponds. In my country, Guyana, now we're getting rain, like whoa. And before that, Guyana traditionally has the December rains, sometime going into January, and the May, June rains. Now it's just a whole heap of rain. But in December, there was a prediction that the earth, first of all, that wasn't predicted. The earth was so cracked, like visibly cracked. There was so much drought. But also, it was predicted that rain wouldn't come until March. Thankfully, we got a little bit of rain before then, where the farmers are suffering. And this is, of course, want to eat the pig and the cow. You can't live if the earth is not yielding food for them to eat. because even the GMO foods that a lot of these people are now serving the cattle, they don't just come out of the blue. You see? So everything is connected. We want to share this with you and invite you to gather your thoughts. Not from the context of, why, look at what they're doing and look at what's happening and look at what they, the big bad wolf is doing. More from a solutionary base, because this is solution-based radio. 89.3 WRFG, the global drum beat. Stay tuned. You're tuned to the Ancestral Rock.
Are getting warmer. Glaciers are melting and sea levels are rising. Millions of people around the world are at risk.
We will respond to the threat of climate change.
The United Nations, the IPCC, has established that warming of the climate system is unacceptable. Different national academies of science agree that climate change is man-made.
We have no time to lose in tackling this crisis.
So where's the debate? A few skeptics, most of them not climate scientists, say all of this is alarmism. They're not bothered by rising carbon emissions. Professor Richard Lindzen is perhaps the world's best-known climate skeptic. He's a professor of meteorology at MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. My name is Mehdi Hassan, and tonight I'll be challenging Professor Lindzen at the Oxford Union, going head-to-head over his controversial view that warnings about the dangers of climate change are just scaremongering. Can you please welcome Professor Richard Lindzen? A hero to climate skeptics across the world. The professor has famously said that if he's wrong about global warming, we'll know in 50 years and can do something then. Professor Lindzen, yes? Are you a climate skeptic or are you a climate denier? Let's get our terminology straight here. You've been called a lot of things. What do you describe yourself as?
Well, probably neither. I mean, I would deny the alarmism. Certainly believe in climate change. I think temperatures do change. So I'm not sure. Labels are not always helpful.
So let's move beyond labels and let's just get to the point of why it is, in many people's eyes, you are so controversial. Because the mainstream, if I can use that word to use another label, climate science, says the planet is warming. Man is responsible for much of that warming that's going on right now, and we need to cut back greenhouse gas emissions as soon as possible. What do you disagree with in that?
The first two are reasonably uncontroversial, although, as always, there are details. I don't think there's a lot of question as to whether temperature has increased a bit over the last 200 years. Most of the temperature increase, in fact, has occurred before the impact of CO2 is very significant. Climate is always changing. So, how one views that it's a personal issue. That man is responsible for some of that is entirely possible. What we do know is there is a greenhouse effect. We know that if you add CO2, all other things kept constant, you should get some warming. The estimates are if you doubled CO2, you might see a degree, roughly. Whether you could establish how much of what we have observed is due to man.
Well, let me on that specific point then. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the IPCC, which was established by the UN, it said in its most recent report, its fourth report, which reflects the work of, I think, 600 scientists in 41 countries, they said most of the observed increase in global average temperatures since the mid-20th century is very likely due to the observed increase in anthropogenic, i.e. man-made greenhouse gas concentrations. It says warming of the climate system is unequivocal, as is now evident from observations of increases in global average air temperatures, widespread melting of snow and ice, rising global average sea level. What do you dispute?
Okay. The statement itself that most of the warming since 50 or 60, 1950 or 60, is due to man's emissions. Possible. I
Not very likely, as the IPCC says.
You know, no one knows where their estimate, 90% likely came from. It's very hard to identify. The most recent works I've seen suggest that it may be on the order of half. Now remember, we're talking about a few tenths of a degree. The real controversy comes to the last part, not of this statement, but of the statement that having seen this, we must cut our emissions. Because the presumption is that these, which I call reasonably innocent statements, imply disaster. Now, to put it into perspective, let us say that man's emissions accounted, let's say greenhouse gas emissions accounted for all of them. That would be entirely compatible with no problem. No problem. I mean, it would say that we might expect by the next century a degree or so. And there is little doubt that man has dealt with much more than that.
Okay, well, on that note, you mentioned the question mark about the IPCC. Professor Miles Allen is a professor of geosystem science at the Department of Geography here at the Department of Physics here at Oxford University. He's also served on several IPCC reports. How do you respond to Professor Lindsay when he says, where does this 90% figure come from?
The evidence is entirely consistent with most of the warming, or indeed all the warming, being driven by the the buildup of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, which puts the future into perspective when we think about the fact that we had 250 years ago 4 trillion tons of fossil carbon underground. We've burnt about 500 billion tons and caused somewhere between 3/4 of a degree and a degree of warming. That's taken us 250 years. We'll burn the next 500 billion tons in 35 years. We'll burn the next 500 billion tons in maybe 30 years. And we'll burn the next. We're not going to stop doing this because fossil fuels are such a fantastically useful resource. So that's where I see a mismatch between saying most of the warming to date is due to this buildup of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, and the statement that we won't see very substantial warming in the future if emissions continue, because that's exactly what's happening. This stuff is building up.
First of all, I think the IPCC was properly cautious in saying most. I think you'd have a hard time arguing for all. But even if it were all, if you double CO2, you create an imbalance in the radiation. That is the source of the warming. We're already actually quite close to the doubling.
My point is, it's clearly not going to stop at doubling. I mean, people who say we're going to avoid doubling CO2, I would agree with you. It's going to be very hard to do that. But if we carry on burning fossil fuels without doing anything, we're heading for tripling, quadrupling, whatever. I mean, there's plenty of fossil fuel down there. That's my point.
Yeah, and
I mean,
so
they keep finding more.
Where does one go from there?
Let me come back to a point you made earlier about the alarmism. What you don't sound to alarmism. And you mentioned the IPCC was rightly cautious. A lot of people say, scientists, environmentalists, politicians even, that the IPCC is too cautious, too sober. That in fact, for example, their predictions, their modelling, their forecasts don't match up to what we're seeing around the world right now. You know, superstorms and heat waves in the United States, droughts and floods in Australia, England having its wettest year ever last year. I mean, the IPCC, you could argue, is too cautious. Not alarmist enough.
One of the questions is always, is not, we've seen warming of a few tenths of a degree, we must do something. The question is, how much do you expect? And that is the issue of climate sensitivity.
That's still a very open question.
When you say it's an open question, how representative are you of scientific opinion? Because there is this debate, we talk about labels.
Oh, look.
People say you're fringe, you're extreme, you're marginal.
How should I put it?
IPCC reflects mainstream science, thousands of scientists across.
How should I put it? I've served on the IPCC, and the agreement was we would say nothing that was untrue. But there was clearly a bias. You were not to attack models. You were not to do this unless it was absolutely essential.
When you say bias, it's not just the IPCC, is it? I mean, 34 national academies of science across the world, your countries, my countries, Sweden,
what have they said?
India, China.
Yeah, and what have they
have
said?
all signed up to the consensus position that the planet is warming, that man is responsible largely for that warming, and that greenhouse gas emissions have to be cut down.
Yeah, and it's the third.
And they're all wrong. All those national academies they're all biased.
Most of these bodies have issued that statement without reference to their membership. That's another problem with this issue. Why have societies that have nothing to do with this issue felt necessary to issue statements? And the statements always begin with what I call the trivial agreement, and then lead to a policy conclusion that this is dangerous. At any rate, that's one of the questions.
But what's the answer? Why have 34 national academies of science put out these statements? Why is NASA? Why is the World Meteorological Organization?
NASA has been conflicted on this, but
why is the Geological Society of America? Why is the International Geophysical Union?
I think that's a fair question. Why do the agricultural societies say this? Why did the American Statistical Society? I have no idea. I do have some ideas. They've been told, issue a statement on this.
They've been told by who?
Well, I'd rather not say, to be honest.
Why not?
Why? Because in each case, it would be in some ways embarrassing. I mean, each of them are dependent on the goodwill of the government. And if they're told sign on, they'll sign on.
Sounds like if you're talking about 34 national academies in countries as diverse as China, Sweden, America, it sounds like a big global conspiracy.
Let me ask you, what content is there in what you're saying?
David Rose is wanting to come in here. David Rose is a special investigations reporter for the Mail on Sunday, contributing editor to Vanity Fair. David?
First of all, I'd like to say that your argument that because 34 academies of science hold a view, it must be right, is daft. If you go back in history, before Copernicus, before Galileo, you could get a fantastic consensus enforced by the Inquisition that the Earth was the center of the universe. One of the curious paradoxes of this whole debate is that from the very beginning, it gained a far greater political traction than a scientific traction. Politicians and policymakers began to assume, using this so-called precautionary principle, a kind of doomsday apocalyptic view of what was happening. Now, with the enforcement of that consensus,
who's enforcing? What?
Hold on.
Who do you think is enforcing?
Wait. Let me finish.
Comparing it to the Inquisition and Copernicus.
Yes, it is
who's doing the enforcing, Dave?
The issue is not whether there is global warming. The issue is not whether a large component is being caused by human beings. The issue is how fast and how far is that happening. That consensus is falling apart.
Well, let's bring in Mark Linus, who is an author on this subject, an activist. He has advised the Maldives government at the Copenhagen summit in 2009. Take on board David's point that this is comparable to Galileo, Copernicus.
I actually think there is a very respectable position to be skeptical on every issue. You should always ask for evidence. You should never just take something as true because it's given by authorities. However, there comes a point where the consensus amongst the experts, 99 experts out of 100 say that we've got a really serious problem here in terms of greenhouse gas emissions, and that's something which concerns me. And I could listen to Professor Lindson's very reassuring, very calm, slightly dismissive attitude and say, well, okay, we could carry on pouring greenhouse gases into the atmosphere and carrying on this enormous experiment with the Earth, but actually, I don't think that's a very sensible, very precautionary position. And if you want to take a kind of balance of risk approach, The fact that we burn 1,100 tons of carbon dioxide and release those into the atmosphere every single second, the fact that we're potentially pushing the climate back to where it was 50 million years ago, way outside anything that humans have evolutionary experience of, actually really does concern me.
Dr. Miles Allen, Professor Allen, who is telling you what to think?
I've never had anybody threaten me with thumbscrews. I find this idea that there's some kind of inquisition out there that tells scientists what to conclude. I find that kind of weird, and nor has anybody ever told me that I'll lose my funding if I don't go with genuineness.
No, well, I'm telling you, nobody's ever threatened me with thumbscrews. That is a true fact.
And among my grad students, there's always an understanding that they will play down anything that suggests this is not a major problem.
David's a layperson, I'm a layperson. If David and I are in a room together, we're taking different positions on this. I can't just ignore the fact that when polled, 97% of climate scientists sign up to the consensus.
They polled? Where were they polled?
Were they polled in a torture chamber? You tell me, where were they polled?
I don't know where they were
Guantanamo Bay?
I have no idea.
But I mean, you keep posing these questions. Where's the answer? Where were they polled?
Well, as one of the 97%, I'd like to agree with David Rose.
89.3 on the FM dial WRFG. We're going to pause this one because I want to bring in another aspect to this whole thing here. You know, because this is listener-supported radio. We want to talk to or of and speak to the reality that is felt every day in these streets. These streets and these hoods where a lot of our loyal listeners reside.
What's up, Rio fam? I'm Tatiana Mott, and we've got some stuff to clear up about climate change. Hashtag debates 2020. I don't give a about global warming. Why? Because I have dark skin. Global warming does not affect Black people at all. Stop talking about it. You know, last time I checked, the weather forecast was hot AF with a chance of forest fires and flash flooding. And I know I'm not the only one who feels it too. So here to clear some things up for us today is our friend, meteorologist Paul Goodlow from our sister company, The Weather Channel. Paul, what would you say to anybody who agrees with this tweet that global warming ain't got nothing on this melanin?
I'd say they need to stop believing everything they see on social media or the internet and just do a little bit of research. Yes, melanated or darker skin might offer some natural sun protection. That is still on the small side, but it does not provide immunity to global warming and its effects. In fact, some would argue that having darker skin puts you statistically more on the front lines of feeling direct impacts from our changing climate and our warming globe. Even this pandemic, who's on the front lines? Who's in the industries that have to go to work? A lot of Black and brown people, not everyone, but a lot of Black and brown people. So you have to get out there. If you cannot work from home, you have to get out there in the elements. You can't get to work unless you're out in the weather and dealing with our changing weather as well. More than 50% of Black people live in the South, which makes them more vulnerable to increased and more intense hurricanes, more frequent, more intense flooding events. And because many Black people live in cities, in urban areas, you have the urban heat island effect. So the heat waves are more intense and more frequently. And that's a huge concern. Now, why is that? Well, we all know this country has a history of systemic racism, keeping a lot of people of color kind of maybe 60 yards behind a 100-yard dash. So yeah, we are lacking overall the economic power and opportunity to afford moving away from these vulnerable communities in floodplains, near petrochemical plants or other areas with higher levels of air pollution. I think back to 2005 with Hurricane Katrina, and people say, why don't these people just leave the city? Well, it's great if you can leave the city and travel 100, 150 miles away and afford to pay for a hotel for, 3, 4, 5, 7 days. But many of these people, because of systemic racism, have been kind of left out of this American dream. Environmental racism is a form of systemic racism that disproportionately places environmental hazards in communities of color. A little example is Flint, Michigan, and all the lead in the drinking water crisis. Politicians decided to not switch water sources when they knew there was problems with lead in the water. Other less notable examples could be going on in your own backyard. It could be zoning laws and decisions by politicians and others that allow industries to build and even operate air and water polluting factories and plants in Black and brown communities. This leads to increased health problems in members of those communities. Combating environmental racism can be done at the ballot box on a local, regional, state, and national levels. So you can support elected officials or those trying to get in office that are pledging to change the zoning laws and strengthen and enforce regulations to limit pollution emissions by industries and others that are poisoning our people. You can combat climate change by reducing greenhouse gas emissions, by using more renewable energy sources. That's a great way to kind of slow the progression of climate change. We're not going to stop it at this point, but we can kind of slow it down. And also we definitely have to adapt to it as well. So bottom line, should Black and brown people care about our changing climate? Absolutely.
Well, that seems pretty clear to me. Thank you, Paul. So, melanated or not, get you some environmentally friendly sunscreen, but the next time you watch the debates and research candidates' proposals on police reform and job equality, make sure you also research their proposed policies on climate change, because global warming does affect Black people. Keep talking about it.
And I'm glad we cleared that up. What's up, Griot fam?
Me too. I'm glad we cleared that up. This is WRFG Atlanta. 89.3 FM. We're in the summer fun drive. Some clouds rolling in finally to Atlanta. Give us a little ease. Don't let the ease put you on the Z's, and make you go to sleep and forget about the reality that our children have to inherit. It's 45 minutes after the hour. We have 15 minutes left in the program. Call up 404-523-8989 right now and make your pledge of support to continue getting life-enhancing information. $ WRFG893 on Cash App. Let them know you're tuned in to the Global Drum Beat, the Ancestral Rock on a Thursday afternoon. That which you love, also love you. So hold up that which holds you up. So when you're watching these debates, these talking heads, different wings of the same bird, make sure they're speaking a clear word. All is connected, that's the point. All is connected in the ecosystem. Don't let nobody fool you. And while we at it, I want to big up all the one them who composting. Guess what composting has to do? This is not just no random kind of out the blue, out of left field commentary. Two of the main things that we see, two of the main vestiges, two of the main effects in real time, in real life of climate change are drought and flooding. How does composting help? Composting, meaning using, and it also helps to remove waste. I don't remember the most up-to-date statistics, so I'm not going to talk out the left ear. However, there's so much food thrown away on a daily basis that could more than feed the population of this nation and globally. On a daily basis, food is thrown away. A very wasteful society, very wasteful mentality, Nothing that is reflective of gratitude and balance, and those principles of Mayat. But composting, which is the combination of nitrogen and carbon, to make it real simple for you, your wood chips and your leaves that fall every autumn, with your veggie scraps and your eggshells and your fruit peels, blending together at a proper proportion creates more soil. The reason why Cordele, Georgia right now is known as the watermelon capital of the world is because of the hot, the arid kind of climate that is down in South Georgia. And because this has also been, from the time of the captivity of African people, the center of a real corporate commercial agriculture, there hasn't been composting. Also, one of the worst in terms of regions, in terms of the nutritional statistics of a people. Right there in the agricultural belt, right? But I digress. The reality is that because there's no composting going on in South Georgia, that's how floods happen when the rain drops. Because that hard Georgia clay, Georgia clay is like concrete. You see? But what composting does is help to alleviate flooding because of adding proper drainage, and it helps to preserve the water that does exist. There's water in the atmosphere. I mean, there was completely, or even in a drought situation, there's water in the atmosphere. If it was completely dry, we'd be all raisins in about 2 minutes. Composting helps to preserve the water which does exist. Composting, again, something you can do with your own hands by preserving your fruit peels, preserving the mulch, and blending them with your fruit peels and your veggie scraps and everything. This is something that can be done today. This is something everyday people can do to assist with their environment. You see, and composting tremendously and directly assists with balancing out some of the main effects of this thing that has been debated about climate change, drought and flooding. There's something to think about. We are not victims, we're just volunteers. I know that's a real controversial thing. People would give you a whole heap of pushback. Some of y'all want, I can't take no calls right now. You're talking to your radio though. There are no victims, only volunteers. When we really get down to the science of it, when we really trace the rabbit hole and get deep into it. So are we going to volunteer for liberation or more sufferation? This is the question. And we're asking this question on your station for progressive information and handpicked quality music, WRFG Atlanta. Stay tuned to yourself, y'all. 8 minutes left in the program. And more good programming coming your way around the clock. So do yourself a favor. Do yourself an honor. Hold up that which holds you up. Simba Simbi. Cash App is $ WRFG 893. Zelle is I thought we had a Zelle. Let me take that back. I'm gonna make sure if we do, I'm gonna get that to you. But definitely on our website, WRFG.org, you can make a secure pledge right now. Or you can call us up in the studio at 404-523-8989. Let's get 8 calls in the next 8 minutes. How about that? For all them conscientious folks out there who greet us in the street and thank you for programming and they love the music and this and that. This is an opportunity to get in where you fit in. This is an opportunity right here, right now, to thank us in a tangible way. Like our brother Kashan said, Straight up, not just with the prayers, y'all know, if you know our program, and we love the prayers. We see the tangible reality of prayers, and we need some dollar signs, some dollar bill, y'all. Call us up, 404-523-8989.
Comes the music? Yeah.
Repetition is the mother of knowledge, y'all. So I'm gonna run this back.
I'm Tatiana Mott, and we've got some stuff to clear up about climate change. Hashtag debates 2020. I don't give a about global warming. Why? Because I have dark skin. Global warming does not affect Black people at all. Stop talking about it. Last time I checked, the weather forecast was hot AF with a chance of forest fires and flash flooding. And I know I'm not the only one who feels it too. So here to clear some things up for us today is our friend, meteorologist Paul Goodlow from our sister company, The Weather Channel. Paul, what would you say to anybody who agrees with this tweet that global warming ain't got nothing on this melanin?
I'd say they need to stop believing everything they see on social media or the internet and just do a little bit of research. Yes, melanated or darker skin might offer some natural sun protection, that is still on the small side, but it does not provide immunity to global warming and its effects. In fact, some would argue that having darker skin